You think trading is about charts, numbers, and money. It's not. It's about silence. That kind of silence that gets inside your head when you've been staring at a screen for 8 hours, your coffee's cold, and you start to realize you haven't spoken a word to another human being all day. You tell yourself you're grinding, focused, locked in, but you're not. You're disappearing. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The market doesn't destroy most traders with bad trades. It destroys them with loneliness. You start alone, you trade alone, you lose alone, and somewhere in between, your mind starts to turn on you. You begin to second guess everything. Every tick feels personal. Every loss feels like proof you're not enough. And when there's nobody around to check your thoughts, they start to eat you alive. This video isn't about entry signals or indicators. It's about survival. Because if you can't handle the silence, the isolation, you'll never make it to the skill. Stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand why the very thing you thought was your strength, trading alone, might be the one thing that's been slowly breaking you. And more importantly, how to fix it before it costs you your mind. Welcome to Disciplined Trades, where we rewire your brain to trade better, not through hype, but through truth. Look, everyone sells you the dream of freedom. Trade from anywhere. Be your own boss. But nobody tells you what happens when freedom becomes isolation. When the walls of your room become your office, your prison, and your therapist all at once. I've seen traders with perfect strategies lose everything. Not because of bad trades, but because they were slowly going insane from solitude. No accountability, no feedback, no structure, just screens, profit and loss swings, and the sound of your own thoughts echoing back at you. You start to confuse solitude with discipline, but they're not the same. Solitude is where you think clearly. Isolation is where you stop thinking rationally. In this video, I'll break down 5 psychological shifts that professional traders use to survive and even thrive in a world that's designed to isolate them. These aren't motivational quotes. They're built from real science, real traders, and real pain. You'll learn why isolation literally rewires your brain chemistry, how to detect the early warning signs of psychological collapse, the neuroscience of loneliness and why it mimics addiction, the system top hedge fund traders use to stay emotionally stable, and how one simple social shift can double your lifespan in the markets. And here's the kicker. The most powerful insight comes in number 5. It's the exact realization that stopped me from quitting after my 5th blown account. So before we dive in, I want you to answer this in the comments. When was the last time you talked to another trader? Not in a chat room, but really talked about your losses. If you can't remember, this video is about you. Insight number 1, the neuroscience of solitude. When silence becomes poison. Look, solitude isn't bad. Every great trader needs focus. But there's a threshold. A point where silence stops helping and starts killing your perception. Neuroscientists call it social deprivation syndrome. In studies at the University of Chicago, brain scans showed that prolonged social isolation activates the exact same neural pathways as physical pain. That's right, loneliness literally hurts. When you're trading alone day after day, your brain interprets it as danger, like being cast out from the tribe thousands of years ago. Your cortisol spikes. Your serotonin drops. Your amygdala, the fear center, goes into overdrive. And the worst part? You don't notice. It's subtle. Your patience starts shrinking. Your impulse control weakens. Suddenly, you're forcing trades just to feel alive again. We call it revenge trading. But often, it's not revenge against the market. It's revenge against the emptiness. You're not chasing profit. You're chasing connection, dopamine. Because every filled order, every price movement gives you that brief hit of stimulation your brain is starved for. That's why isolation and overtrading go hand in hand. It's not discipline failing, it's biology starving. Here's the takeaway. You can't out-discipline your nervous system. You need structure that reconnects you to reality, daily human contact, external accountability, or even a pre-trade ritual that anchors you to something beyond the screen. Without it, the silence wins. Insight number 2, the mirror neuron trap. Why watching traders isn't connection. Here's the irony. You think you're not alone because you're scrolling through Discord chats and Twitter threads full of traders, but your brain doesn't count that as real connection. Research at UCLA on mirror neurons shows that digital interactions trigger imitation, not empathy, meaning you start mimicking others' behaviors, but you don't actually feel connected. That's why after hours of watching other traders post wins, you feel worse, not better. You're comparing your internal chaos to their external highlight reel. Every green screenshot you see becomes another mirror reflecting your own inadequacy. And that comparison, that endless, silent measuring, it's what pushes you into impulsive trades. Because in that loneliness, you don't just want money, you want validation, proof that you still belong somewhere, so you force the win. But validation-driven trading is the silent killer of accounts. It's not the bad entries that blow you up, it's the emotional craving underneath them. Want proof? In 2021, eToro analyzed over 12,000 accounts. The traders who posted their results publicly took 32% more trades per week than those who didn't. Their performance, 48% worse. Connection through comparison is counterfeit. Real connection grounds you. Fake connection amplifies chaos. The next time you catch yourself doom scrolling after a loss, ask yourself, am I looking for information or belonging? If it's belonging, close the app. Call a friend. Touch reality again. Insight number 3, the hermit effect. Why you start hearing voices and believe them. Stay with me. This is the part nobody talks about. When you spend long periods in isolation, no feedback, no social calibration, your brain starts generating its own feedback loops. Inner voices, opinions, doubts. And because there's no one else to challenge them, they start sounding like truth. You begin believing the whispers. I'm cursed. The market's rigged. I can't win. Psychologists studying submarine crews and Antarctic researchers call it cognitive echo. Your thoughts bounce inside your own head until they distort. In trading, that echo becomes fatal because the market doesn't give feedback in language. It gives feedback in pain. And when pain becomes your only mirror, every loss starts to feel like identity. The hermit effect creates traders who are technically skilled but mentally broken. They know how to trade. They just don't know how to trust themselves anymore. The fix isn't therapy quotes or self-talk, it's external calibration. You need people, mentors, peers, even critics to interrupt the echo. Every professional trading desk has this built in. Morning briefings, shared analysis, review sessions, not because they need motivation, because they need reality checks. You need to build that for yourself. Even one accountability call per week can reset your mental compass, because in the silence of your room, your brain will lie to you. Insight number 4, the isolation addiction, when loneliness becomes comfort. Here's where it gets twisted. After enough time alone, you start to crave the very thing that's killing you. Because loneliness, like any pain, releases endorphins over time, the body's natural painkillers. That's why traders who isolate long enough stop wanting people around. You start believing isolation is your edge. I'm focused. I don't need anyone. I work better alone. It sounds noble, stoic, but it's just addiction wearing discipline's mask. The brain begins associating solitude with safety, and any social contact feels like a distraction. So you retreat deeper, trade more, sleep less, talk less, until one day you wake up and realize you're not chasing financial freedom anymore. You're just hiding. Isolation becomes your drug. And like any addiction, it ends in one of two ways: breakdown or breakthrough. Breakdown is when your nervous system snaps, burnout, anxiety, depression. Breakthrough is when you finally admit, this isn't mastery, it's madness. That moment of honesty is where recovery starts. Insight number 5, the connection protocol, how pros stay sane in a lonely game. Here's the part that saved me. After my 4th blown account, I wasn't just broke, I was empty. Every day felt like drowning in my own thoughts. Then one night, a message popped up from another trader. You alive? We talked for hours about losses, fear, exhaustion. That conversation didn't fix my trading, but it kept me alive long enough to fix it myself. Later, I discovered this wasn't random. Professional traders deliberately build systems of connection, not for information, but for mental survival. Ray Dalio calls it radical transparency. Paul Tudor Jones calls it truth circles. I call it the connection protocol. Here's how it works. 1. A weekly check-in. Mandatory. Discuss your worst trade, not your best. 2. Vulnerability is required. No performance, just truth. 3. Rotate feedback. 1 week, you talk. The next, you listen. 4. Record patterns. How you feel, not just what you trade. 5. Close with a commitment. 1 behavioral change per week. It sounds simple, but it rewires your brain for resilience, because belonging isn't a luxury. It's a biological necessity. Harvard's 75-year longitudinal study proved it. Strong social bonds don't just increase happiness, they extend lifespan. The traders who last aren't the loners grinding in silence. They're the connected few who know how to build emotional infrastructure. You want to survive the markets? Build your tribe. Because trading alone might make you money, but connection will make you last. Climax. Let's slow this down. Picture this. It's midnight, charts glowing, the room quiet. You're holding a losing position. Your chest tightens. Nobody knows. You stare at the screen, not because you're analyzing, but because you're afraid to step away. That's isolation. It's not physical, it's emotional. And it's what breaks most traders long before they ever master a strategy. You tell yourself you're self-reliant, but what you really are is unseen. And unseen people make desperate trades. The truth is, trading was never meant to be a solitary pursuit. Every great trader you admire, Jones, Dalio, Minervini, they all had networks, teams, mentors, circles. They didn't outsmart the market alone, they survived it together. The market is a mirror. It reflects who you are when nobody's watching. So when the silence starts to echo, remember this. Isolation doesn't make you stronger. It makes you brittle. Connection doesn't make you weak. It makes you stable. And stability, that quiet, grounded state, is the real edge. You can't trade well if you're mentally disintegrating. You can't think clearly when your nervous system is starving for connection. The silence feels noble until it kills your creativity, your focus, your will. Break it before it breaks you. Let's recap. Isolation distorts perception. Loneliness rewires your brain. Comparison fuels addiction, and disconnection destroys discipline. But the antidote is simple. Reach out. Find one trader you trust. Build a ritual of reflection. Talk about the trades that broke you, not the ones that made you look smart. Because the moment you share the pain, it loses power. Trading isn't about battling the market. It's about battling the voice that says, you're alone in this. You're not. If this video hit you hard, share it with someone who trades in silence. They might need it more than you think. Comment below with one sentence. I'm done trading alone. That's your first step out of isolation. Subscribe if you want more deep rewiring like this, the stuff that no trading course ever teaches you. Next video, we'll go deeper into the trader's burnout cycle and how to reverse it before it costs you your edge. Until then, step away from the screens. Call someone. Talk. Because the real profit isn't in money. It's in staying human.